Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the spring break series for Steel Rose's podcast. This podcast is created for women by women, and we're basically the goal here is to elevate women's voices. This week is the special series, so I am doing a mini-sode every day, documenting essentially the survival of spring break in my house whilst it is pouring rain outside. I've been complaining pretty much every episode, and I will continue to complain even into tomorrow when the rain stops. So very interesting observation, basically, I wanted to share. So it's day 3. We're getting, a little weary of arts and crafts, not as excited about that stuff. And we finished out all of our kits that we bought already. So that's kind of off the table. We've gone through pottery, painting, drawing, pretty much you name it. So today, unfortunately, was pretty highly focused on video games. I didn't have any time off today during the day, so I was working for the full day, which is why I did rely more heavily on the kids playing video games and being on devices. I know the literature. I know that this is not beneficial for them. I know it's detrimental to their brain. I know it's detrimental to their personalities, to their moods, but I also know that I had to work. So it's one of those catch-22s, basically. I couldn't sacrifice the whole day. So I did my best to try to mitigate and everything, but today was just, it is what it is. It's raining out and I had to work and I had to just roll with it. Sharing this because I think that we, especially, we as women in general, but we working mothers, put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, stay on top of keeping up with like things that are great for our kids and keeping them away from things that are not so great. And, it's almost to a fault. There would have been no way for me to work today while also having my kids home if I didn't have them play with their electronic devices. So I just had to bite the bullet and hope that, that won't happen all the time. And there will be days where we're outside all day and they don't get on their devices at all. So it's sort of like I have to deal with it for now. And when the weather's nicer, hopefully we don't have to go that route anymore. I will say this, I do notice significantly the impact on my kids when they are at home, cooped up and stuck on devices. Their mood swings are much more intense. My son specifically, he has a really hard time disengaging from the device. So that's always a problem and that always causes a big blow up. And it's not pleasant and we feel bad, like myself and my husband both. We don't like that it happens that way, but again, we both work. So sometimes it is what it is. But I will say that I do notice a pretty big difference. And my cousin, and I talk about this quite a bit because she very, very much tries to keep her daughter away from screen time. She did an excellent job, I think, the first few years of her daughter's life, and there was no screen time at all. And you can tell the difference when your child is not given a screen until much later because their brain develops in a better way. And I had to deal with all 3 of my kids being little at the same time. So I did lean a little bit more on technology for support. But for moms out there that don't need to have that and you can just engage with your kids all day, while it might be exhausting, it really is to their benefit and it is better for them to do it. But with that being said, I was like pure survival mode when my kids were little. So it was what it was. And they're fine. I mean, they're okay. They're smart kids. My kids are very intelligent, like articulate. They'll talk your ear off. But I do kick myself quite often about that. Nothing I could have done at the time, but just something I'm sharing with you guys because, again, we all go through these things. And I think it's important to acknowledge, like, you know what? This is something I regret. It's something I wish I could have done better. Maybe I can share this with you guys and you can do better for your kids. So there's that other observation. And I've actually noticed this before. When my kids are home, I take less care of myself. And not just my kids, when my husband's home too. When everybody's in the house, I pay less attention to my own needs and less attention to what I need to do for myself. Case in point, when I am home alone, I eat a very balanced diet and I drink probably around 60 ounces of water or tea, or tea throughout the day, because my water goal is always about 60 ounces. I get up and exercise for about 45 minutes ish. I'll walk on the treadmill in the garage, or I'll take a walk around on the block. And I will actively make sure that I am prioritizing things for myself. When everyone's here, that goes right out the window. Summer months are interesting around here. You're all going to hear about it, because this just is what it is. I have to get better at continuing to maintain myself and continuing to care for myself while everyone else is home. I have a very, very hard time. I struggle quite a bit with taking care of myself. And I mentioned, I always talk about advocating for yourself. And yesterday, on the episode I recorded last night that aired this morning, I did talk a little bit about like prioritizing your health and prioritizing your healthcare and actually getting yourself to doctors and all that. I do very deeply, firmly believe that. But I also very deeply, firmly know that I have a really hard time with that. And I'll use this myself as my poor example here is I've been meaning to get blood work for well over a year and I still haven't gotten it done. Like, it's just stuff like that. But the water thing and the food thing I noticed specifically today. Now, the first 4 years that my kids were alive, I was very overweight, very obese, and I struggled so much trying to just take care of myself because I just didn't, to be quite frank. I just didn't. And I think I mentioned it on the other episode that like I didn't go to the doctor for like 3 years. I just couldn't wrap my head around taking care of myself. And symptoms of that are still present today. The few things that I do prioritize, no matter what, is meditation, affirmations, and visualization. Those are my 3 big tickets nearly every single day. I overslept this morning, but those are my big priorities every single day, is making sure that I have those 5 minutes for each process to make sure that like I am getting myself in flow and that I have a calmness about me. The exercise is something that I do struggle with a little bit. And making sure that I'm getting up and moving and taking care of myself, whether it's like a 15-minute yoga or if it's like I mentioned, like walking outside or walking on the treadmill. Like I do try to make that happen. So I'm saying it here and I'm saying it out loud because I'm at a point where I want to make this change. I want to make this happen where I am making it a point to prioritize myself. Today I did I worked out in the afternoon and I was laughing to myself because it was about 5:15 and I started getting antsy because I knew I needed to make dinner. And my husband's training me. We're doing weight training in the garage. That's our little home gym is in the garage. And he was like, okay, and now after this one, we're going to do this. And he kind of just kept going with the workout. And I stopped him. I was like, I have to make dinner. Like, I can't just continue to work out because it's going to get to 6 o'clock and then you're going to be staring at me. Everyone's gonna be like, what's for dinner? So I laugh about this because I think that many of us experience this or we observe it where men are able to just compartmentalize and prioritize, like, if it's working out or, doing something for themselves, they're able to disengage that and not have to like think about anything else, or they won't think of anything else. Whereas I think as women, this goes alongside with like the mental load. The whole time I was working out, I was thinking about cooking dinner. What's the turnaround time for me to cook dinner? And then one of my daughters wanted to play with me. So I was thinking about that. And then I wanted to make sure that I played with my kids after everything was done because I didn't get to really hang out with them today. And then outside of playing with my kids, I'm like, well, I got to make sure my one daughter wants to play with me. I got to make sure I spend time with my other 2 kids. I don't want anyone to feel left out. So the whole time I was weightlifting, the whole time, this is what's running in my head. And I just find it hard to stop these things and to, not feel under pressure. And this is coming to you from a place of like, I'm sharing this with you because I think we all go through this and it's very difficult and we get really frustrated and pissed off. And I used to get enraged because I'd be like, my husband would be telling me, oh, prioritize your workout. And I'd be like, okay, who's going to fold the laundry? Like, I mean, it just sort of would balloon into this massive fight. Cause I'd be like, okay, fine. I'd be happy to prioritize myself for an hour a day. Who's going to take care of everything else that I do during that hour? You know, and it's things like that that I think cause those major rifts between husband and wife, because the husband is able to disengage. Now, no matter how helpful your husband is, I know, I know someone whose husband is incredibly helpful around the house, but there are still these barriers that they just can't seem to get past, and it makes it even worse when there's like long commutes involved in the whole thing. So everyone goes through it. And I think that it's just a matter of like recognizing it, acknowledging it, and then moving forward from there. You don't have to get stuck on that and beat it to death and argue with your partner and make it a huge issue. Like sometimes you just sort of have to accept, like, you know what, like it's a little lopsided. Yeah, sure. Eventually it's going to even out. I will use as an example the fact that I'm recording a podcast right now would have never happened 3 years ago. No way in hell. No friggin' way would that have happened 3 years ago. There is not a shot in hell that I would have had time to do anything like this. But now I can. My kids are older. They're bigger. They're self-sustained. I hear 2 of them playing upstairs. I think it's playing. I can't tell. We might be arguing. We'll see. So with time, I think comes some recognition of like, yes, it's difficult, but I can pivot and I can figure something else out. And that's basically what I've been doing this week. I was very excited this week or today because I knew my husband was going to be home halfway and he's going to be half of the day. And I know he's going to be home the rest of the week. So I'm like, all right, reinforcements. But yeah, it's a lot of push and pull and give and take. So we're right at the halfway point of spring break. I am still incredibly bummed out about the weather. Probably going to be upsetting to me for the rest of the week. But we'll see where it goes from here. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging in with me. I actually hope that you're enjoying the little spring series here, spring break series. I'm hopeful to be able to do something similar to this in the summertime, just little quick hits, because I know everyone's schedules change a little bit in the summertime. I know my schedule sure does. So, we'll see how it works out, but I'm just going with the flow and kind of seeing where it takes me. Do have some great guests coming up in the spring series. So the way that everything's being structured right now is we're in our springtime series. So this is, spring break. Our spring series, the Steel Roses Spring Series, will run through May into June. And then in June starts the summer series. And it's a whole different shift in like how the podcast is going to be formatted and the kind of topics and everything we're going to talk about. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for hanging in with me. I greatly appreciate it. I hope these little mini-sodes are helpful to you in some way. If anything, some solidarity in the fact that you are not alone in losing your marbles. We're all losing our marbles. So until next time, take care, everybody, and I will catch you on the next one.